Clark, it's been such a joy to be with you today. It's been one of the highlights for me, really has.
Thank you.
And, I was just wondering, from your vast experience of ministry and many things that you would have learned and imparted, what's your takeaway? What's the most significant thing that you hold in your heart now through all your years of ministry?
There are many, but one of the greatest things that I've known and that I know today is that God is knowable.
Wow.
That you can know God intimately, and that God makes himself available for us to know intimately, because we could never know him unless he allowed himself to be known.
Wow.
That he's God and we're just people. But I've found God to be incredibly knowable, incredibly intimate, that he's just there for us, which is extraordinary when you consider how great he is.
Yes.
That he's totally individual with each one of us. This morning when you prayed, you would have felt that you had God's complete attention.
Yes, I did.
When I was praying this morning, I had his complete attention. So how could you have it when I had it? And there's 6 billion people roughly on the earth just now. Hundreds of millions of them, about 2 billion, own some kind of relationship to Jesus Christ. And yet for those 2 billion, they each felt that they had his total attention.
It's amazing.
Which is God, that's his fatherhood. I don't know how many children you have. 2, isn't it?
3.
3. Then those 3 children, if they were here, would each feel that they had your total attention.
Yeah.
And God's fatherhood is like that, which makes God incredibly approachable. Because I can stop, whether I've got this hobby farm here, I'm down the tractor, fencing, doing anything, and God is totally approachable to me there. Or a mechanic in the mechanic shop.
Yes. Yeah.
He could ask God, how does this thing go together? And God knows everything. So that'd be one of the great things that I've come not just to know in my head, but to know that I know that I know that God is fully approachable to me.
Wow.
Or to anybody else. I think one of the other greatest things that I've learnt is grace. Jesus came full of grace and truth. John 1:17. Legalism or law requires works.
Yeah.
Law demands us to perform.
Mm-hmm.
Grace says, I did it all for you.
Wow. It's amazing.
And while ever you have got a performance attitude to God, you can never have real intimacy, because while I'm certainly not promoting an ungodly lifestyle, but most likely you're not perfect.
There's a thought.
I'm not perfect. I'm vastly improved to what I was, but I still make mistakes. So unless you understand the God of grace, you're forever repenting, saying, God, I'm sorry. And you forever have that sense of guilt.
Yes, that's right.
But God gave you and I and every other Christian his gift of righteousness. We never earned it. We never deserved it. He gave it to me. And even if I make a mistake, whatever that mistake might be, I don't make big whopping mistakes anymore, but I make mistakes. God still sees me as righteous. Righteousness is not based on behaviour. Righteousness is separate to behaviour. Because he gave me the gift of righteousness, I am righteous. Not because I behaved right.
That's stunning, Clark.
For a long time I had them mixed up.
Okay.
my behaviour equals my righteousness. That is not biblical. It is not truth. Righteousness is a free gift. Unearned, undeserved, it comes out of grace.
Wow.
So if I do make a mistake, I am just as righteous as if I didn't make a mistake, because it's not my behaviour, it's a gift from God. So if I was to make a mistake, I would then look to God not as a child grovelling because I made a mistake, seeking his forgiveness. He's already forgiven me on the cross.
Yeah.
I would say, Father, even though I did that was wrong, you still see me as righteous. It's like Anne and I have 3 children. We love them all equally. If they make a mistake, I don't love them any less. They have the same standing in my eyes that they would have if they were good or bad.
A son or a daughter.
They're a son or a daughter.
Yeah.
They're my favourite at that moment. Well, I am righteous in God's sight. And if he sees me as righteous, I need to see myself that way. Rather than seeing myself as guilty, which I did for years, and it did not help me. It did not make me holy. It made me condemned. It made me feel unworthy. But Jesus paid for our sin. He gave us the gift of righteousness out of grace. Will I sin more thinking like this? No, I'll sin less.
Yes.
Because my mind is focused on what God did, not on me trying to get to God. By trying to please God by my actions, my words, my behaviour, actually keeps you always a bit guilty.
Wow.
Because we're never quite perfect.
Okay. Well, Clark, that's amazing. I'm sure there's much more that you've got to share. And we just appreciate you being willing to download to us. And just being here today, I've just enjoyed you and Anne, and thank you for your hospitality. It's just been lovely to sit and listen and so appreciate who you are and what you brought to this nation. It's been awesome.
It's been great to have you out here, Royree.
Thank you.
Just been a real pleasure. It was a pleasure to see you step out of that car.
Thank you so much.